Sometimes something happens in life that feels too perfectly timed to be random. You might think of a person you haven't spoken to in years, and then, suddenly, you get a message from them. Or you dream of a symbol or image, and the next day you see it again in real life in the most unexpected place. These kinds of experiences often leave people confused or amazed. They seem like coincidences, but they carry a feeling that they mean something more, something personal and significant. It might make your body react, a sudden chill, a strange silence inside, or a moment where everything seems to slow down. That deep feeling stays with you and makes you wonder what just happened. This is not just your imagination. These kinds of events have a name: synchronicity. The term was introduced by Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist who studied the human mind, dreams, myths, and symbols. Jung didn't consider synchronicity a superstition or fantasy. For him, it was a real and meaningful part of how our minds interact with the world around us. He believed that sometimes things happen that cannot be explained by logic or chance, but they still hold deep symbolic meaning for the person experiencing them. Synchronicity happens when events in the outside world align perfectly with what's happening in our inner world, our thoughts, emotions, and deeper unconscious feelings. There's no direct cause or logical connection between the two, but the timing and meaning make it feel like something important is being revealed. These moments don't follow the rules of science or everyday thinking, but they speak in a language that the heart and soul recognize. Often, synchronicities show up during times of emotional stress, confusion, or big life changes. When you are going through a breakup, facing a major decision, grieving a loss, or searching for purpose, your usual ways of understanding the world may not be enough. That's when your deeper self, what Jung called the unconscious, begins to express itself. It does not speak through normal language. Instead, it uses symbols, emotions, dreams, and even real-world events that seem to carry a message. When we are more emotionally open or vulnerable, we become more sensitive to these messages. What makes synchronicity so powerful is the feeling that something meaningful is trying to reach you. You might be reading a book and come across a sentence that feels like it was written just for you. Or a song starts playing on the radio, and the lyrics express exactly what you're feeling inside. These events might seem small or easy to ignore, but the emotional reaction they create is real. They feel like clues or signs, nudging you to pay attention. Jung believed that our unconscious minds are not just places where we bury painful memories. They are also filled with intelligence, creativity, and a kind of inner guidance. The unconscious holds our deepest truths, potential, and path of growth. When we ignore these parts of ourselves, the unconscious tries to get our attention. Sometimes it does this through dreams, but other times it reaches out through the world around us, through synchronistic experiences. For example, if someone is deeply unhappy in their job, but hasn't admitted it to themselves, they might start seeing signs that point toward change. Maybe they keep hearing the same advice from different people, or they meet someone who has made a big career shift and seems to reflect exactly what they've been afraid to do. These experiences are not random. They are part of the way the unconscious pushes information into consciousness. It's important to understand that synchronicity is deeply personal. To someone else, your experience might seem like nothing special, but to you, it feels powerful and hard to forget. That's because the meaning isn't in the event itself, it's in how it connects to your inner world. It's about what it stirs in your emotions, thoughts, and sense of self. Synchronicity doesn't offer direct answers. It doesn't give you a clear plan, but it opens a door. It makes you stop and think. It invites you to explore something within yourself that might have been hidden or ignored. These moments don't happen all the time. They seem to come when we are in a state of transition or openness. They show up when we are questioning who we are, what we want, or where we're going. Jung believed that when the structure of our conscious mind weakens, Through emotional pain, trauma, or deep transformation, the unconscious becomes more active. That's when synchronicity appears. It's like a signal from the deeper parts of ourselves saying, "Look here, this matters." There's no need to search for signs in every little thing. Synchronicity is not about creating meaning where there is none. It's not about spiritual paranoia or believing that everything is a message. Instead, it's about recognizing genuine moments that feel significant, moments that move you or stop you in your tracks. If something touches you deeply, makes you reflect, or brings up an emotional truth, it might be synchronicity. The feeling that this is no ordinary moment is usually a good clue. Some people are naturally more open to these experiences. Others may dismiss them, especially if they rely only on logic and reason. But logic has limits. It helps us build machines, solve problems, and make daily decisions. Yet, it often fails to explain the richness of the human soul. That's where the symbolic, emotional, and intuitive side of us comes in. Synchronicity is part of that other way of knowing. The unconscious mind, according to Jung, doesn't use words the way we do. It speaks in symbols, metaphors, images, and emotional truths. That's why you might have a dream full of strange symbols, and then those same symbols appear in waking life. Or you might feel drawn to a certain book, person, or place without knowing why. These things may carry messages, not in a magical sense, but in a deeply psychological and spiritual one. If we try to ignore these experiences, the signs might keep returning. They might grow louder or more intense. A symbol that meant little the first time might keep showing up until we can no longer pretend it doesn't matter. This isn't because the world is forcing something on us, but because a part of us, our inner self, is trying to be heard. It wants us to grow, to heal, or to move in a new direction. Many people report these kinds of experiences during major life changes, times when they feel lost, uncertain, or stuck. These are the moments when the old way of living no longer works, but the new way hasn't appeared yet. That space in between is where synchronicity often lives. It's where our inner world begins to communicate more directly to the outer world. The truth is, we are not fully in control of our lives in the way we like to believe. Much of what we feel, want, or fear comes from parts of ourselves that we don't always understand. But these parts are still part of us, and they want to be known. Synchronicity is one of the ways the unconscious reaches across the boundary and says, "Listen, there's something you need to see. You might be going through something like this right now." Maybe you've seen a symbol repeating, heard a phrase more than once, or felt like life is trying to tell you something. That's not weakness. That's not madness. That's a sign of awareness. You're starting to pay attention to the deeper rhythms of your life. You're beginning to hear the quiet voice of your own soul. Carl Jung saw synchronicity not just as a psychological event, but as a spiritual one. He believed that we live in a world where the inner and outer are connected more deeply than we realize. Life, he said, is not just a chain of random events. It is a meaningful pattern, a living story full of symbols and messages. Synchronicity is where those two worlds meet. You don't have to be an expert in psychology to feel this. You don't need special training to recognize when something matters to you. All you need is openness, a willingness to feel, to notice, and to reflect. And when something touches you deeply, don't push it away. Sit with it. Ask yourself what it might mean. Let it guide you, even if just a little. The journey of understanding synchronicity is also the journey of understanding yourself. It's about learning to trust your inner world, your emotions, your intuition. It's about allowing life to be more than just what you can measure or control. Because sometimes the most important truths come not in facts, but in feelings, signs, and symbols. So if you're noticing strange patterns or having experiences you can't explain, maybe it's not just coincidence. Maybe it's your deeper self reaching out. And maybe now, for the first time, you're ready to listen. Carl Jung discovered something powerful, something that changed the way we understand the mind. He realized that the unconscious mind is not just personal. There's a deeper layer, a hidden part of us that connects all people. He called this the collective unconscious. It's like a symbolic ocean we all share, filled with images, ideas, and feelings that aren't tied to just one person. These symbols and patterns have existed for thousands of years, appearing in myths, dreams, and religions across the world. This is where synchronicity is born, a meaningful coincidence that feels too perfect to be random. Jung's idea is that deep inside all of us is a shared space filled with universal images or archetypes, like the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, and the great mother. These aren't just characters in fairy tales. They live inside your mind. They appear in dreams, fantasies, and sometimes even in the real world in strange and powerful ways. And when one of these symbols shows up during a big moment in your life, like a crisis, a change, or a deep inner struggle, it can feel like the universe is trying to tell you something. That's synchronicity, a moment when the outside world lines up perfectly with your inner world. Jung studied this deeply. He noticed that when people go through intense inner conflict, their minds begin to reach for these powerful, shared symbols. These aren't made up by culture or media. They rise up naturally from within us. They are part of the structure of the human mind. And Jung found that alchemy, the old practice of turning lead into gold, was actually a great metaphor for what happens inside a person during deep transformation. To the alchemist, turning lead into gold was a magical process. To Jung, it was psychological. The lead is the chaos inside us, the confused and painful parts of ourselves. The gold is the conscious, whole version of who we truly are. Synchronicity often happens when we're in a dark phase, a time Jung called the negredo, or blackening. This is when everything seems lost, when we feel broken or confused. But it's during this time that important symbols can appear to guide us, like stars in a dark sky. A strange dream, an animal crossing your path, a song playing at the right time, a number that keeps showing up. These things can be more than just chance. They might be keys, clues, messages from your unconscious mind. They aren't magical in a fairy tale sense, but they are powerful. They are signs that something inside you is changing. When you start to pay attention to these symbols and coincidences, you may feel something shift. You might begin to see meaning where before there was only chaos. You might find direction where before you felt lost. But doing this takes courage. It means being willing to look within, to face the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. Because symbols don't always give us comfort. They give us truth. And truth can be hard to accept. The next challenge is to understand what these signs really mean. How can you tell if something is truly a synchronicity or just a random event? How do you know if a symbol is meaningful or if you're just overthinking? This is where many people get stuck. Jung taught that synchronicity isn't something you can understand with normal logic. You need a different kind of understanding, one that's intuitive, emotional, and symbolic. It's similar to how we interpret dreams. What matters is not just what happens on the outside, but how it feels on the inside. If you experience a strange event that touches you deeply, the first thing to do is to observe without judgment. Don't rush to explain it. Just take note. Write it down. Reflect on it. Ask yourself, what does this remind me of? What feeling came up when it happened? Have I seen this pattern before? The unconscious speaks through patterns and feelings. Each symbol has many layers of meaning, and it's up to you to explore what it might be saying to you. The next step is to look at your life and ask, what's going on right now? Are you going through a big change? Are you feeling stuck, grieving, confused, or starting something new? Synchronicity usually appears during times of transition, when one phase of life is ending and another hasn't yet begun. This is when the unconscious becomes active, sending messages to guide you. You should also try to understand the symbols by connecting them to archetypes. For example, if you keep seeing snakes, don't just think about the literal animal. In Jungian psychology, the snake often represents transformation, healing, or renewal. It's a symbol of rebirth. It might mean something is ending in your life or beginning. But be careful. Interpreting symbols isn't always pleasant. It requires you to be honest with yourself. The unconscious doesn't care about your ego or what you want to hear. It cares about your growth. That's why the messages it sends can be confusing, painful, or even frightening. They're touching wounds you've tried to ignore. Some people make the mistake of using synchronicity as a way to confirm what they already want. They chase signs to support their desires. But this is a trap. True synchronicity doesn't confirm your wishes, it shows you truth. And often, those truths are the very things you've been avoiding. Jung said that without self-knowledge, you can't truly understand synchronicity. You have to be willing to face your shadow, the parts of yourself you've rejected. You have to look at what's inside with courage and honesty. But when you do, something changes. The world starts to look different. Life no longer feels random. It becomes meaningful. Each event becomes a message. Each symbol becomes a doorway. The world becomes a mirror that reflects your inner journey. And that leads us to an important question. If the signs are appearing, if you're feeling these strange connections and meaningful coincidences, what is the unconscious trying to tell you? Maybe synchronicity isn't just showing you something. Maybe it's trying to change you. This is the final part of the journey. It's about choosing what to do with what you've seen. Because once the sign appears, you can't go back to sleep. You can try to ignore it, pretend it didn't matter, return to your routine. But deep down, you'll know that something is calling you. Jung said that synchronicity is the way the unconscious leads you toward individuation, the process of becoming your true self. But that path is not easy. It often means letting go of the life you thought you wanted. It means questioning things you used to be sure of. It means allowing something new and unknown to take shape inside you. That can be scary, because before you become the new version of yourself, the old one has to fall apart. If you ignore the call, it doesn't go away. It comes back. Stronger, louder. Life will keep trying to wake you up. And the more you resist, the more it will shake you. But if you accept the invitation, if you step into the unknown, if you follow the signs and face the truth inside you, you begin to transform. You follow the path not because it's safe or easy, but because it's real. Synchronicity wants to wake something up in you. It wants you to remember who you are, not who the world told you to be, not who your fears shaped you into, but your real self. And sometimes, all it takes is one meaningful moment, one strange coincidence, to set that journey in motion. So if you've experienced a synchronicity, something that made you stop and wonder, share it. Someone else might need your story. And if you felt something while reading this, if something deep inside stirred, then maybe you're already on that journey. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Keep watching. Keep listening. The unconscious is still speaking. Are you ready to hear it?